Before we talk about love, before we talk about compatibility, before we talk about communication styles, attachment theory, or any of the other frameworks people use to try to stabilize something that was never anchored to begin with, there's a question that almost no one is asking. And it's the first one that should be asked. Not eventually, not after you've already intertwined your lives, at the very beginning. Are you willing to stake your life on the proposition that God exists? Not, do you believe in God? That question is way too soft. People say yes to that all the time without ever examining what they mean. I'm asking something different. Are you willing to live as if it's true? To build all your decisions on it, to filter all your behavior through it, to let it confront all of you, even when it's inconvenient, to stake your life on it. Because if the answer is no, then we're not building on the same ground. And no amount of chemistry, attraction, or shared goals will fix that. But let's say the answer is yes. Not perfectly, not with absolute certainty, but with enough conviction to say, I'm willing to live like this matters. Then the real work begins. What kind of God are we agreeing to? Because people say God like it's a universally shared definition. It's not. For example, is he angry? And I don't mind, does he ever experience anger? I mean, is that who he is? Is he reactive? Is he unpredictable? Is he someone we have to manage or someone we can trust? Is he kind? Not performative kindness, not selective kindness, but consistent, grounded, unmoved by circumstance kind. Is he just? Does truth actually matter to him, or is everything negotiable depending on how he feels and what perspective is looked at? Is he merciful? And if he is, what does that actually look like when we fail each other? Does he restore or does he discard? And you move through these questions not to create God, but to reveal what you actually believe is true about him, because that belief, whether spoken or unspoken, is going to govern everything, both consciously and unconsciously. How you handle conflict, how you interpret pain, how you assign meaning, how you extend grace or withhold it. You don't rise above your view of God, you build within it. So if one of you believes God is harsh and the other believes he is merciful, you are going to experience the same moment in two completely different worlds. If one of you believes truth is absolute and the other believes truth is flexible, you're not having the same conversation. This isn't theology for the sake of theology. This is foundation, because at some point, you're going to hit something that shared interests alone won't solve. Stress, injustice, exhaustion, repeated failures, betrayal. And in those moments, you will not default to your intentions. You will default to your beliefs. And if those beliefs are not aligned, you won't just feel disconnected. You will be disconnected from the only place that gives you peace. But when two people take the time to ask, to refine, to challenge, to align, something stabilizes. Now, when conflict comes, the question isn't who's right. It becomes what is true according to the God we both agreed to. When someone fails, the question isn't, do you deserve punishment? It becomes, what does mercy require here? When life doesn't make sense, the question isn't, Why is this happening to me? It becomes, what do we believe about the nature of God even now? This doesn't remove difficulty, but it sure does remove confusion. Because now we're not building around each other. We're building around something that doesn't move every time we do. And whether people realize it or not, everyone is already living according to a God. For some, it's control. For others, it's fear. For others, it's approval and validation. But if we're going to bind our lives together intentionally, then we should be just as intentional about what sits at the very center of it. So before we say, I do, we answer this. What are we staking our lives on? And who is the God we believe we're standing before? Peace.